What you're about to witness is only half the story. This is part 1 of a hospital horror that's more twisted than fiction. By the end, you'll be screaming for answers. And trust me, part 2 holds the explosive truth you won't see coming. Before we start, smash that subscribe button, ring the bell, and grab your merch at memesandseams.com. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. My name is Margo Fredrick. I'm 32 years old, born and raised in a town so small it doesn't even have a traffic light. Pinedale, Wyoming. You know the type. Snowdrifts taller than pickup trucks in winter. Skies so wide at night you could drown in the stars. My dad ran the only auto shop in town. Mom taught 3rd grade. We were the kind of family that ate meatloaf on Sundays and prayed for rain during hay season. Simple, predictable, safe. Until it wasn't. When my little brother Wyatt died at 16 from a liver disease that crept in like a thief, something broke in me. The doctors in Cheyenne said he needed a transplant, but the waiting list was a graveyard. I watched him turn yellow, then gray, his laugh fading to a wheeze. After the funeral, I packed my Ford Ranger and drove southeast. I didn't stop until I hit Alabama. Why? Maybe because the South felt like another planet. Kudzu strangling the pines, humidity so thick it stuck to your bones. Or maybe because I needed to outrun the guilt. I should have given him part of my liver. I should have fought harder. Magnolia Mercy General. The hospital sat at the edge of Cypress Creek, a squat brick building with peeling paint and a flickering neon cross. God's waiting room, the locals called it. I started as a janitor, mopping floors stained with bodily fluids and bourbon. Nights, I studied for my surgical scrub tech certification at the community college. Took 6 years, but I clawed my way into the OR. Now, I'm the one prepping trays of gleaming instruments, counting sponges like rosary beads, watching surgeons' hands dance inside living bodies. I know the rhythm of this place. The beep of monitors, the hiss of ventilators, the way Dr. Everett Hale hums Sinatra under his mask during a routine appendectomy. Hale's the closest thing Magnolia Mercy has to a celebrity. Mid-50s silver fox hair, a smile that could charm a rattlesnake. He moved here from Atlanta after a disagreement with a malpractice suit, or so the nurses whisper. But he's good, damn good. When he operates, it's like watching a concert pianist. Fluid, precise, no wasted movement. The day it changed. It started with Eleanor Carter. 68 years old, grandmother of 7, a laugh that could shake the dust off the chapel rafters. Her gallbladder was giving her hell, but the surgery was textbook. Or it should have been. I prepped her myself. Checked her chart twice. No allergies, no complications. Eleanor Carter. You remind me of my granddaughter. Her skin felt like tissue paper. She's in Iraq. You got someone waiting for you after this shift, honey? Just my cat, adjusting her IV. Let's get Mrs. Carter back to her peach cobbler, shall we? For the first 20 minutes, everything was normal. The anesthesiologist, Dr. Park, nodded at the monitors. Lila Dawson, my favorite scrub nurse, tossed me a fresh pack of sutures with a wink. Then Hale's scalpel slipped. Not much. A millimeter. But blood bloomed dark and fast, a crimson flower unfurling. Clamp. I slapped it into his palm, his fingers shook, vitals dropping. The monitor screamed. Flatline. We coded her for 18 minutes. Compressions cracked ribs. Adrenaline. Shock paddles. Nothing. Time of death. Later in the locker room, I scrubbed my hands until they burned. Lila found me staring at the pink water swirling down the drain. Not your fault. Smoke curled around her bleach blonde curls. Even gods bleed sugar. He hesitated. Hale never hesitates. But gods don't leave stains on the OR floor. I stayed late, digging through files. 5 deaths in 3 weeks, all under Hale. A college linebacker donating a kidney, blood clot. A young mother with uterine fibroids, embolism. A mechanic with a hernia, cardiac arrest. No patterns. Just ghosts. At midnight, I drove home to my studio above Big Earl's Bait and Tackle. My cat, Boudica, greeted me with a dead lizard. I fed her, then stared at the corkboard on my wall. Photos of Wyatt, maps of Wyoming, a postcard from Mom. Come home, Margot. The mountains miss you. But I couldn't. Not yet. The first thread. Next morning, I brought Hale his usual coffee, black, 2 sugars. His office smelled like bourbon and regret. Hale, Margo, about yesterday. Margo, it happens. Hale, does it? A shadow crossed his face. For a heartbeat, I saw something raw. Fear? Guilt? Hale Whitmore, what now? Charles Whitmore, hospital administrator. Slick as oil with a Rolex that cost more than my truck. I'd seen him arguing with Hale last week outside the morgue, voices low, gestures sharp. Hale, I'll handle it. When I left, he was staring at a photo on his desk, a girl in a soccer uniform. His daughter, maybe? I'd never heard him speak of family. Blood in the soil. That afternoon, I volunteered to restock the morgue. The basement was always cold, the fluorescents buzzing like flies. I was labeling specimen jars when I heard voices. Needs to be fresher. Whitmore, tell Kingsley we're not miracle workers. You want quality, pay up front, a cooler scraped concrete. I peered out. 2 men in black scrubs loaded a stainless steel case into a van marked Biomed Solutions. Whitmore pocketed an envelope. My pulse thundered. Walk away, Margot. But Wyatt's voice whispered, "What's in the cooler?" I waited until they left, then crept to the loading dock. The latch was loose. Inside the case, plastic bags floated in ice. A liver, a pair of kidneys, their vessels neatly tied. The donor tag read, Jonathan Pike, 24, DOA 415. But Jonathan Pike wasn't dead. I'd seen him yesterday, alive on the break room TV. A missing person report, former Marine, last seen outside Mobile. The cooler slipped from my hands. Organs sloshed, ice crunched under my shoes as I ran. 3 days after Eleanor Carter's death, the hospital felt like a house of mirrors. Every corridor twisted into another, every face a distorted reflection. I'd taken to wearing Wyatt's old denim jacket, the one with the bison patch on the sleeve, as armor. It smelled like him still, a mix of motor oil and the sagebrush that grew wild behind our childhood home. Mom used to yell at him for tracking dirt into the house. Now I'd give anything to hear her voice again. The morning began with a code blue in OR2. A 19-year-old named Tessa Morales, a college volleyball player in for a routine ACL repair. I prepped the tray. Scalpel. Retractors. Sutures. Dr. Hale's hands were steady, his Sinatra hum absent. Hale, let's make this quick ... not looking at me. Halfway through, Tessa's blood pressure plummeted. The monitor shrieked. Hale barked orders, but his voice cracked. We lost her at 10:17 a.m. Hale pulmonary embolism. But I'd seen the angiogram. Her veins were clear. That night, I broke into the records room. Magnolia Mercy's archives were a graveyard of filing cabinets and dust. The flickering bulb overhead cast spiderweb shadows as I spread the charts across the floor. Eleanor Carter, Tessa Morales, Jonathan Pike, and 3 others. All dead in the last month. All under Hale's knife. The official causes were varied. Clots, shock, cardiac arrest. But the patterns... Time of death. Always between 7 p.m. and 10:30 p.m. when the night shift was light. Next of kin, none listed for Pike. A fake number for Tessa's emergency contact. Discrepancies. Pike's autopsy report listed a scarred liver, but the organ I'd seen in the cooler was pristine. Footsteps echoed in the hall. I killed my flashlight. Lila, Margo, that you? I held my breath. Lila, girl, you're gonna get us both fired. We sat on the roof, passing a flask of peppermint schnapps. Lila's stress relief. The moon hung low, staining the Alabama pines silver. Lila, you're digging in the wrong graves. Whitmore's got eyes everywhere, even on Hale. I studied her. The crow's feet around her eyes deepened when she lied. Margo, why'd you follow me tonight? Lila, my boy, he's in Holman prison, armed robbery. They're paroling him next month, if I keep my mouth shut. Margo, they're threatening him? Lila, they don't threaten, they act. You got no kids, Margo. No anchor. You can run. I can't. The flask trembled in her hand. I wondered how many secrets it had swallowed. Next morning, the morgue received a John Doe car accident on Highway 43. I volunteered to assist the autopsy, my hands steady as I laid out the tools. Since when do scrub techs play with corpses? Since I stopped trusting the living. The John Doe was mid-30s, tattoo of a serpent coiled around his neck. Cause of death, blunt force trauma. But when Park opened the chest cavity, I gagged. No heart, what the hell? The chart claimed all organs were present. Yet the pericardium hung empty, like a deflated balloon. Must have missed it at the scene. But I saw the incision, clean, surgical. Someone had harvested it post-mortem. That afternoon, my burner phone rang. I'd bought it at a gas station after finding the cooler, cash only. Stop playing Nancy Drew, Miss Fredrick, or you'll end up like your brother. The line went dead. I vomited in the supply closet. They knew about Wyatt. I tracked down Jonathan Pike's widow through Facebook, a woman named Marisol, posting tearful tributes. Her profile was flawless. Wedding photos, a GoFundMe, hashtags like #HeroVet, too flawless. I drove to her listed address, a trailer park outside Mobile. Who are you? Jonathan's friend from the VA. Ain't no Jonathan here. I rent this profile for $50 a week. Some rich guy's idea. My blood turned to ice. What rich guy? An engine roared behind me. A black SUV rolled past, tinted windows reflecting my pale face. Slammed the door. Back at the hospital, I cornered Hale in the parking lot. His Mercedes was idling, a duffel bag in the passenger seat. Margo, who's Kingsley? Hale, get in. We drove in silence to a roadside diner. Hale, they approached me last year. Promised to fund a pediatric wing. All I had to do was look the other way during certain procedures. Margo procedures? Haley harvests. They target the ones no one will miss. Runaways, addicts, veterans. I tried to back out, but... Back at Magnolia Mercy, I volunteered for the graveyard shift. The night crew was skeletal. A nurse named Roy who reeked of moonshine. An intern named Priya who jumped at shadows. At 2:17 a.m., the ER doors slammed open. Paramedics wheeled in a John Doe from a multi-car pileup. Male, late 20s, massive internal bleeding. Priya O negative. We need blood now. I froze. The patient's tattoo, a raven with Semper Fi wings, matched Jonathan Pike's. Hale, prep or 3. Margo, but he's... Hale, now Margo. In the OR, Hale worked faster than I'd ever seen. Clamps. Suction. The rhythmic beep of vitals. Then, at 3:09 a.m., the monitors flatlined. Hale, call it. Priya, but we just... Hale, time of death. I followed him to the morgue, watched him tag the body, watched him slip a silver key from the man's pocket. Hale, don't. Too late. The keychain read, Kingsley Biomed Solutions, Storage Locker 117. Detective Marcus Boone found me in the parking lot at dawn, smoking Lila's Virginia Slims. His cruiser's light bar painted his face red and blue. Boone, heard you've been asking questions about missing vets, fake widows. I blew smoke in his face. You here to arrest me? I'm here to warn you, that key in your pocket opens more than lockers. My hand flew to my scrubs. Empty. Relax, I'll keep it safe. You keep your pretty head down. As he walked away, his jacket rode up. The butt of his Glock gleamed, engraved with a tiny raven, Semper Fi. The exchange. Lila's trailer reeked of cat pee and desperation. She chain-smoked by the window, eyes darting to the woods. Boone's one of them. No shit. They've got a shipment tonight. Organs go out, cash comes in. You want to see the devil's ledger? Follow the money. She slid a crumpled invoice across the table. Kingsley Biomed Solutions. Payment $250,000. Delivery 9 p.m. Dock 12 Mobile River. Why help me? She opened a closet. Inside, Jesse's prison jumpsuit hung like a shroud. My boy gets out tomorrow if I'm not there. The trailer door exploded inward. The river's price. They dragged us to the riverbank. Boone's Glock pressed to my temple. Whitmore stood by a speedboat, a briefcase handcuffed to his wrist. You're persistent, annoying but useful. Kingsley needs fresh inventory. Run! I plunged into the swamp, Whitmore's shouts chasing me through the cypress knees. The briefcase floated past, bobbing in the current. Inside ice packs and a heart labeled Property of Kingsley Biomed. The swamp's embrace. The swamp swallowed me whole. Mud sucked at my boots like greedy hands, and the humid air clawed at my lungs. Lila's blood still streaked my scrubs, a rust-colored accusation. Move, Margo, or you're next. Find her! She's got the case. The briefcase, Kingsley's cursed prize, bobbed in the brackish water ahead. I lunged, fingers brushing its handle just as a gunshot splintered the night. The bullet kissed my ear, searing heat and gunpowder. I dove underwater, briefcase clutched to my chest, and let the current drag me deeper into the black. The bargain with the devil. I surfaced miles downstream, vomiting swamp water and terror. The briefcase lock had rusted shut, but Wyatt's knife pried it open. Inside, a human heart, floating in a Ziploc of ice, and a manila folder labeled Project Phoenix. Moonlight revealed photos of a girl, 10 years old, bald from chemo, clutching a teddy bear. Recipient number 117. Status: urgent. Attached, a memo harvest scheduled June 21st. Source: T. Morales, Tessa Morales. The volleyball player who'd bled out on Hale's table. My burner phone buzzed, screen cracked but alive. Unknown number. You're not the only one who knows about Phoenix. Meet me, Doc 14. 4 a.m. The Judas kiss. Doc 14 reeked of dead fish and diesel. A figure emerged from the fog, Dr. Hale, his face a mosaic of bruises. Hale, they took my daughter, said they'd give her a heart, if I let them take yours. Why should I believe you? They harvested my spleen last night. A reminder. Who's the girl in the photo? Emily Kingsley, CEO's niece. She's dying. We're all dying, Margot. Just some faster than others. An engine growled. Headlights speared the fog. Boone's SUV. Hale, go! The hollow altar. I woke in a church. Not God's house. A crumbling chapel deep in the pines, its pews replaced by stainless steel tables. IV bags hung from the rafters like grotesque Christmas ornaments. Boone, welcome to the operating room, Nurse Fredrick. Whitmore, you'll fetch a pretty price. O positive, healthy liver, and a vengeful heart. Lila's voice echoed in my skull. The swamp eats bones. The saw word to life. Then sirens, someone cops. Boone hesitated. I headbutted him, tasted his nose crunch. The saw tumbled, severing my restraints instead of my ribs. The second death. I ran barefoot and bleeding into the woods. Behind me, the chapel erupted in flames. Hale's doing, maybe, or justice. At dawn, I stumbled into a gas station. The clerk's TV blared. Arson at abandoned church. Unidentified bodies found. One photo flashed. Emily Kingsley, her obituary dated June 22nd, died awaiting transplant. The briefcase was gone, but in my pocket I'd hidden the heart's label, T. Morales, now wrinkled and bloodstained. A text buzzed. They know where you live. Outside, a black SUV rolled into the lot. If you think this was shocking, Part 2 will leave you speechless. Trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. Smash that subscribe button, hit the bell icon, and turn on all notifications, because when Part 2 drops, you'll be the first to see how this nightmare ends. Support the channel. Grab our Rise from the Ashes merch at memesandseams.com. Every purchase helps us expose more stories like this.
Okay, so you guys send us this purported firsthand account titled, They Harvested Patients Alive. What I Saw Will Shock You, Part 1 by Margo Fredrick. It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah. I mean, that title alone kind of promises some pretty dramatic revelations. And then Part 1, so it sounds like we're just getting started.
Yeah, definitely more to come.
Where do we even begin?
Well, Margo's account starts off, with a personal tragedy in Pinedale, Wyoming.
Right.
The death of her younger brother, Wyatt, from liver disease.
Yeah.
And this loss really seems to be like the driving force behind her decision to relocate to Alabama. Looking for a fresh start, I guess, after this significant personal upheaval.
Yeah. New place, maybe get away from some of that pain. Ends up in Alabama and eventually finds work at Magnolia Mercy General Hospital, starting as a janitor. She kind of describes this as giving her, a ground-level view of the hospital's inner workings.
Yeah.
But over time, through her own efforts, she becomes certified as a surgical scrub tech.
Right.
So she's moving from observing to being directly involved in the medical procedures.
Exactly. And this progression is key because it places Margot in a position where she has both the access, and the medical understanding to notice irregularities in patient care.
Yeah.
Early on, she introduces us to Dr. Everett Hale, the hospital's renowned surgeon.
Right.
Interestingly, though, there's this mention of a past malpractice suit stemming from his time in Atlanta, which hints at a potentially troubled history beneath the celebrated facade.
Oh, interesting. So not entirely squeaky clean. Okay, so let's talk about the event that really sets Margot on this path of suspicion. This is Eleanor Carter, a grandmother undergoing what should have been a routine gallbladder surgery.
Right.
Margo herself prepared Eleanor for the operation, and everything seemed normal initially.
Yeah.
But then during the surgery, she observes Dr. Hale's scalpel slip slightly.
Uh-huh.
While seemingly minor, this leads to rapid and serious complications. And despite the surgical team's efforts, Eleanor Carter dies on the operating table. And what struck Margo was a moment of uncharacteristic hesitation from Dr. Hale, just before things went wrong.
That hesitation is a crucial observation.
Yeah.
Having worked alongside Dr. Hale, Margot recognizes this as a deviation from his usual, confident demeanor.
Yeah.
Right? Slight slip, during surgery can lead to, rapid complications like severe bleeding.
Yeah.
Or damage to other vital structures.
Of course.
Which could result in, a catastrophic event like cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
That's why precision is paramount, right?
Yeah.
In surgical procedures.
Yeah.
So this hesitation is the first signal for Margot. Something might not be right.
It doesn't end there, sadly.
Yeah.
Over a short period, Margot starts noticing a disturbing pattern of deaths involving patients under Dr. Hale's care.
Oh, wow.
These include Eleanor Carter with the gallbladder, a college linebacker who is a kidney donor, a young mother undergoing surgery for uterine fibroids, and a mechanic who was in for a hernia repair. All sorts of different things.
So different medical issues.
Different issues, but all under his care.
Yeah.
The official causes of death were listed as things like blood clots, embolisms, and cardiac arrest.
Right.
On the surface, these seem like different medical issues.
Yeah.
But Margot starts to see a troubling connection.
Yeah. What's noteworthy here is the variety of these seemingly unrelated cases occurring under the care of the same surgeon within a short time frame.
Yeah.
While conditions like, blood clots, also known as thrombi, or embolisms, where a clot travels and blocks a blood vessel, and cardiac arrest, the sudden loss of heart function, can occur, in various medical situations.
Right.
The concentration of these events around one surgeon understandably raises Margot's concern.
Yeah, and so the morning after Eleanor Carter's death, Margot brings Dr. Hale his coffee. And she witnesses a tense conversation between him and Charles Whitmore, the hospital administrator. Whitmore's described as kind of like someone who just seems untrustworthy, right? And she gets the impression there's already some underlying conflict or tension between them, possibly stemming from something she had observed earlier near the hospital morgue.
Right.
So already some shady stuff potentially happening.
Yeah. This interaction does suggest that the issues might extend beyond just Dr. Hale's operating room.
Right.
And potentially involve the hospital administration. Any prior argument or disagreement near a sensitive area like the morgue certainly hints at the possibility of clandestine activities.
Yeah.
Or at least significant disagreements occurring behind the scenes.
Yeah, okay. So later that day, Margot volunteers to help restock supplies in the morgue.
Yeah.
While there, she overhears a conversation between Whitmore and an unidentified man who she notes has a northern accent. They're discussing the need for organs to be fresher, and a demand for upfront payment from someone named Kingsley.
Okay.
Margot then sees these two men loading a stainless steel case into a van belonging to a company called Biomed Solutions. She also observes Whitmore discreetly pocketing an envelope after this exchange.
Oh, wow.
Naturally, Margot's curiosity is piqued.
Right. And the mention of Biomed Solutions is significant because in the context of organ transplantation, these organizations are typically involved in the legal, ethical procurement and distribution of organs, right?
Right.
However, the secretive nature of this exchange, coupled with the talk of payment and freshness outside of established protocols, immediately suggests something irregular is happening.
Right.
The envelope changing hands further reinforces the idea of an illicit transaction.
Driven by this, Margot investigates and finds the stainless steel case in the loading dock area.
Okay.
Inside, packed in ice, she discovers harvested organs. a liver, and a pair of kidneys, all prepared as they would be for transplants.
Wow.
And the donor tag attached to these organs identifies the individual as Jonathan Pike supposedly declared dead on April 15th.
Okay.
But here's the truly shocking part. Just the day before, Margot had seen Jonathan Pike alive on a local television news report about missing persons.
Oh, way.
Identified as a former Marine who had last been seen outside Mobile. So massive contradiction.
Yeah, this is like a jarring discrepancy.
Right.
Because for an individual to be declared deceased, right, and have their organs prepared for transplantation, there are typically strict legal and medical protocols that must be followed.
Yeah.
Including, confirmation of death and consent for donation.
Of course.
The fact that this supposedly deceased individual was publicly identified as missing just days later introduces a major inconsistency.
Right.
And suggests a severe breach of these established procedures.
So she's starting to see a really troubling pattern here. And the unsettling events continue with the case of Tessa Morales.
Okay.
A 19-year-old athlete, a volleyball player, who was undergoing what should have been a relatively straightforward ACL repair surgery on her knee. The official cause of death was given as a pulmonary embolism, essentially a blockage in the lung arteries, which can be fatal.
Yeah.
However, Margot recalls seeing Tessa's angiogram, a medical imaging technique used to visualize blood vessels, and she knows that Tessa's veins were clear. So this adds another layer to Margot's suspicions about the accuracy of the reported causes of death under Dr. Hale's care.
Right. And this direct contradiction between Margot's observation of the angiogram showing clear veins and the official cause of death being a pulmonary embolism is highly significant.
Yeah.
Right. It strongly suggests that the stated cause of death might be inaccurate.
Right.
Potentially concealing another reason for Tessa Morales' tragic passing.
Yeah. So fueled by these growing concerns, Margot decides to take a significant risk. And she breaks into the hospital's medical records room.
Oh, wow.
And what she uncovers there paints an even more disturbing picture.
Okay.
So reviewing the recent deaths that occurred under Dr. Hale's care, she notices a consistent pattern in the recorded times of death.
Okay.
They all seem to fall within a specific window during the lighter night shift. Furthermore, many of the deceased either have no listed next of kin or the contact information provided appears to be fake or untraceable.
Oh, wow.
And then there are the direct inconsistencies, such as the autopsy report for Jonathan Pike stating he had a scarred liver.
Yeah.
While the harvested liver Margot saw with her own eyes appeared healthy and undamaged.
Right.
These accumulating details suggest something far beyond mere coincidence or medical error. These findings are indeed highly suggestive of a systematic issue.
Right.
The uniformity and the timing of deaths, coupled with the difficulties in tracing next of kin, and the outright falsification of medical details, like the condition of Jonathan Pike's liver, all point towards a deliberate effort to obscure the truth behind these deaths.
Yeah.
The lack of verifiable contact information for the deceased raises serious questions about their backgrounds.
Yeah.
And whether their deaths might go unnoticed or unquestioned.
Yeah. So Margot then has a conversation on the hospital rooftop with Leela Dawson, another scrub nurse. Leela warns Margot to be careful around Whitmore, the administrator.
And then reveals a deeply personal and troubling reason for her own silence and apparent complicity. Her son, Jesse, is currently incarcerated in Holman Prison.
Oh, God.
And Leela strongly implies that her cooperation and silence are somehow tied to the possibility of his parole.
Wow.
Suggesting a coercive and potentially corrupt environment within the hospital system.
Leela's situation introduces a critical element of vulnerability and external pressure, right?
Yeah.
The implication that her son's freedom is contingent upon her silence
Right.
highlights how individuals within a system might be manipulated or coerced into participating in or concealing illicit activities.
Yeah.
It underscores the potential for abuse of power within the hospital administration.
And the next disturbing discovery for Margot comes during the autopsy of a John Doe who was supposedly killed in a car accident. While the official chart states that all of the John Doe's organs were present at the time of autopsy, Margot personally observes the complete absence of a heart. What's more, the incision where the heart would have been removed looks clean and surgical.
Okay.
Indicating it was likely removed post-mortem by someone with medical training, rather than being damaged or absent due to the trauma of the accident itself.
Right.
This further strengthens Margot's growing suspicion of illegal organ harvesting.
The discrepancy between the medical chart indicating the presence of all organs and Margot's direct observation of the missing heart, coupled with the surgical nature of the incision, provides compelling evidence that supports her concerns about unauthorized organ removal.
Right.
It suggests a deliberate manipulation of medical records to conceal these actions.
So following these discoveries, Margot receives a threatening phone call on an untraceable burner phone.
Okay.
The voice is distorted, but the message is clear. Stop investigating these deaths, or she will suffer the same fate as her deceased brother, Wyatt.
Oh my gosh.
So this call confirms that someone is aware of her investigation. They're actively trying to intimidate her into silence. And the personal nature of the threat, referencing her brother, shows they have detailed knowledge of her past and are using it to try and control her.
This threat significantly escalates the danger Margot is in.
Yeah.
And underscores the gravity of what she has uncovered.
Right.
The personal reference to her deceased brother is a deliberate and cruel tactic intended to exploit her emotional vulnerabilities. And force her to abandon her pursuit of the truth.
But despite the threat, Margot continues her investigation.
Good for her.
And attempts to contact Jonathan Pike's supposed widow, Marisol.
Okay.
Margot had found Marisol's online profile to be suspiciously perfect,
Right.
Her visit to the trailer park where Marisol supposedly lived reveals that Marisol is not who she appears to be. She is, in fact, a woman who is being paid by an unnamed rich guy to maintain this fabricated online identity.
Wow.
And as Margot leaves the trailer park, a black SUV appears, seemingly watching her. So this suggests a sophisticated level of deception and surveillance designed to conceal Jonathan Pike's true status.
Yeah. The revelation of the fake widow and the subsequent appearance of the black SUV corroborate the idea of a carefully orchestrated cover-up involving individuals with resources and the means to conduct surveillance and create false identities. The involvement of a rich guy hints at potential financial motivations and influential figures behind these activities.
So eventually, Margot confronts Dr. Hale in the hospital parking lot. Feeling cornered, Dr. Hale confesses that he was approached by representatives from Kingsley Biomed Solutions.
Okay.
They promise substantial funding for a much-needed pediatric wing at the hospital in exchange for him simply looking the other way during what they termed harvests of individuals they believed would not be missed. He even shows Margot a scar on his own body, revealing that he had a kidney forcibly removed as a form of collateral to ensure his compliance. So this is a shocking admission and reveals the extent of the pressure and coercion being used.
Yeah. Dr. Hale's confession provides a crucial piece of the puzzle. Identifying Kingsley Biomed Solutions as the likely organization behind the alleged organ harvesting scheme. His explanation of being coerced, coupled with the horrifying detail of the forced kidney removal, illustrates the extreme and unethical tactics employed to ensure the silence and cooperation of medical professionals. The promise of funding for a pediatric wing introduces a twisted ethical dimension where a seemingly noble goal is being pursued through deeply immoral means.
Later, back in the hospital morgue, Margot finds a single black rose and an anonymous note that ominously directs her to go to operating room 4 at midnight.
Oh, gosh.
And to come alone, it's clearly a setup, right? A trap designed to isolate her.
Right. And the black rose is often associated with death and mourning. And the anonymous note directing Margot to a secluded location at a specific time. Strongly suggests a planned confrontation or an attempt to silence her permanently. The instruction to come alone further emphasizes the dangerous situation she is now in.
So that night, Margot has a vivid dream about her deceased brother, Wyatt.
Okay.
A poignant reminder of the personal loss that initially led her to Alabama. The next morning, she sees a local news report that confirms Jonathan Pike is indeed a missing person. And the report shows a photograph of him, noting he was last seen at a bus station in Mobile.
Wow.
So this visual confirmation makes the impossible undeniably real. The man whose organs were tagged for transplant as DOA is alive and missing.
The news report serves as undeniable external validation of the inconsistencies Margot has uncovered.
Right.
The visual confirmation of Jonathan Pike as both the deceased donor and the living missing person underscores the extent of the deception, and raises questions about how such a significant discrepancy could have occurred and been concealed.
So when Margo shares this shocking realization about Jonathan Pike with Leela Dawson,
Leela's reaction is deeply unsettling. She delivers a veiled and threatening warning, referencing the swamp behind the old Reynolds place, adding the chilling detail that it's a place that eats bones.
Oh my gosh.
This implies a much deeper level of involvement for Leela and suggests a potential method for disposing of evidence or silencing those who get too close to the truth.
Leela's menacing warning about the swamp serves as a stark indicator of the danger Margo is in and strongly suggests that Leela has knowledge of or involvement in concealing evidence related to these illicit activities.
Right.
The phrase eats bones is particularly disturbing and implies a finality to anyone who ends up there.
So undeterred, Margo takes a perilous trip to Dauphin Islands in an attempt to find the real Marisol Pike.
Right.
Her visit to a boarded-up bait shop leads to a tense encounter with an armed man.
Oh, wow.
While there, she sees a photograph that confirms the identity of the real Marisol Pike, further solidifying the fact that the online persona was a fabrication.
As Margo leaves Dauphin Island, the ominous black SUV reappears, continuing its surveillance. This confirms a coordinated effort to keep the truth about Jonathan Pike and Marisol buried.
Margo's trip to Dauphin Island and the encounters there validate her suspicions about the fake Marisol and the ongoing efforts to conceal the truth. The armed man and the recurring presence of the black SUV underscore the physical danger she faces and the organized nature of the opposition she's up against.
So back at Magnolia Mercy, an ambulance arrives with a John Doe who was critically injured in a multi-car pileup. The truly shocking detail is that this John Doe matches Jonathan Pike's description and has the same distinctive tattoo, a raven with the words Semper Fi, despite Pike having previously been declared dead and his organs supposedly harvested.
This is an extraordinary twist.
It is.
That introduces a significant level of uncertainty. Is this truly the same Jonathan Pike who was previously declared dead? If so, how did he come to be alive and then involved in a car accident? Or is this an incredibly unlikely coincidence involving someone with a striking resemblance and the same unique tattoo? This development challenges the established timeline and Margo's understanding of the events.
So Dr. Hale, upon learning about this, John Doe immediately rushes to prepare for surgery. However, despite his efforts, the patient dies on the operating table.
Oh, wow.
Hale quickly declares the time of death, and crucially, Margo witnesses him discreetly take a key from the deceased's belongings. This key is attached to a Kingsley Biomed Solutions keychain.
Oh, gosh.
And the tag reads, storage locker, #117.
Wow.
This directly links the individual resembling Jonathan Pike to the suspicious organization.
The recovery of the storage locker key from the body of someone matching Jonathan Pike's description and its connection to Kingsley Biomed Solutions provides a tangible piece of evidence linking this individual and the organization. It suggests that even in death, there might be a connection to their illicit activities.
And the situation takes another complicated turn with the arrival of Detective Marcus Boone. Boone somehow already knows about Margo's, unofficial investigation into missing veterans and the fake Marisol Pike. He even possesses the key to storage locker, #117, claiming he will keep it safe while subtly warning Margo to cease her own investigation. Then Margo makes a chilling observation. Detective Boone has the same distinctive raven tattoo with Semper Fi on his Glock handgun.
Oh my gosh.
So this strongly suggests that Boone is not an impartial investigator, but is likely involved in the conspiracy.
Detective Boone's prior knowledge of Margo's investigation and his possession of the key are highly suspicious. The mirroring tattoo with Jonathan Pike strongly implies a connection, potentially through their shared military background. Boone's warning to Margo, combined with his possession of crucial evidence, raises serious doubts about his allegiance and suggests he may be actively involved in the cover-up.
So Margo then confronts Leela at her trailer. Leela, seemingly resigned or perhaps fearing for her own life, confirms Detective Boone's involvement in the illegal activities.
Okay.
Leela reveals that there is an imminent shipment of organs scheduled for Kingsley Biomed Solutions.
Oh, wow.
She even shows Margot a damning invoice for a staggering $250,000 with the designated delivery location listed as Dock 12 on the Mobile River.
Wow.
This provides concrete evidence of the scale and financial motivation behind the alleged organ trafficking operation.
The invoice provides irrefutable documentation of the illegal organ trafficking operation.
Yeah.
And highlights the significant financial incentives involved.
Yeah.
Leela's decision to share this information, despite her previous threats and fear, suggests a potential shift in her loyalties.
Right.
Or a desperate attempt to expose the truth before it's too late.
So tragically, their meeting is violently interrupted. Detective Boone and Charles Whitmore forcibly break into Leela's trailer and abduct both Leela and Margot, taking them to the riverbank.
Oh my gosh.
In a selfless act to help Margot escape, Leela is shot and killed by Boone.
Oh my God.
Margot manages to flee into the darkness and into the nearby swamp, with Whitmore's shouts echoing behind her.
Oh God.
As she desperately tries to escape, she sees a briefcase floating in the water.
Okay.
She manages to grab it and discovers it contains ice packs and a human heart in a biohazard bag labeled property of Kingsley Biomed.
Wow.
So things have gotten incredibly dangerous.
Leela's sacrifice is a pivotal moment.
Yeah.
Highlighting the extreme ruthlessness of those involved.
Yeah.
And the immense danger Margot is facing.
Right.
The discovery of the heart in the briefcase further solidifies the ongoing nature of the illegal organ harvesting operation.
Yeah.
And directly links it to Kingsley Biomed.
Right. So deep within the murky swamp, Margot struggles to survive, clutching the briefcase.
Oh, gosh.
She narrowly avoids being hit by another gunshot. Oh, my God. Finally, finding a moment of relative safety, she opens the briefcase.
Okay.
Inside, along with the heart and ice, she finds a manila folder labeled Project Phoenix.
Project Phoenix.
The folder contains photographs of a young, bald child undergoing chemotherapy, identified as Emily Kingsley, recipient #117, with a notation indicating urgent status.
Oh, gosh.
There is also a chilling memo detailing a harvest scheduled 6/21 source, T. Morales.
Oh, my gosh.
So this horrifyingly connects the illegal operation directly to the death of Tessa Morales.
Project Phoenix clearly indicates a high-priority recipient.
Right.
Likely someone with significant connections, given the urgency and the extreme measures being taken to secure a transplant.
Yeah.
The memo explicitly identifying Tess Morales as the source for this harvest is a devastating confirmation of Margot's suspicions about the true circumstances of Tessa's death.
So Margot then receives another message on her burner phone, this time instructing her to meet someone at Dock 14. When she arrives, she finds Dr. Hale, who is severely bruised and shaken.
Oh, gosh.
He claims that his own daughter has been taken and is in desperate need of a heart, presumably Emily Kingsley's. He reveals that he had his spleen forcibly removed as a brutal reminder of his compliance.
Wow.
And confirms that Emily Kingsley is the niece of the CEO of Kingsley Biomed Solutions.
Okay.
He warns Margot that they are all dying.
Oh, my gosh.
And then, as Boone's SUV arrives, he abruptly pushes Margot into the water.
Oh, wow.
Hale's motivations appear to be driven by a desperate attempt to save his daughter, even at Margot's expense.
Dr. Hale's desperate actions and revelations add another layer of complexity.
Right.
The threat to his own daughter and the brutal act of his forced spleen removal underscore the ruthless tactics employed by Kingsley Biomed.
Right.
The confirmation of Emily Kingsley's familial connection to the CEO highlights the potential power and influence wielded by this organization.
Yeah, and so Margot wakes up to a terrifying scene. She's in a makeshift operating room in an abandoned church, strapped down to a table.
Oh, my God.
Both Detective Boone and Charles Whitmore are present.
Oh, wow.
Whitmore chillingly remarks about the value of her organs, specifically mentioning her O-positive liver and her vengeful heart.
Oh, gosh.
Just as things look like the end, the sound of approaching sirens breaks the tension.
Okay.
In the ensuing chaos, Margot struggles with Boone and in the process accidentally manages to sever her restraints.
Oh.
She makes a desperate escape into the surrounding woods as the abandoned church inexplicably catches fire. Stumbling upon a gas station, she sees a news report detailing an arson at an old church.
Oh, my gosh.
And mentioning unidentified bodies found at the scene, including a photo and obituary for Emily Kingsley dated June 22nd.
Oh, wow.
So the briefcase with the heart is now gone, but Margo still has the label from the heart that was supposed to come from Tessa Morales. And the final ominous event is a text message she receives on her burner phone, simply stating that they know where she lives.
Oh, my God.
Immediately followed by the arrival of a black SUV.
Wow.
It's a classic cliffhanger ending.
The abandoned church setting creates a sense of sinister and ritualistic horror.
Right.
Whitmore's comments about Margot's specific organs underscore the predatory and dehumanizing nature of the operation.
Right.
The news report about Emily Kingsley's death, despite the desperate need for a transplant just hours before, raises profound questions about the true intentions behind Project Phoenix.
Yeah.
Margot's narrow escape and the final direct threat leave her in extreme peril.
Yeah.
Still hunted by the powerful forces behind this conspiracy.
Well, you certainly weren't wrong. That was an incredibly intense and deeply disturbing piece of material. We've only covered part 1 of Margot's purported account.
Right.
And as you can hear, it's packed with allegations of conspiracy, illegal organ harvesting, and shocking violence. There are so many loose ends and unanswered questions, and the cliffhanger ending definitely leaves you wanting to know what this part 2 holds.
Several specific elements of Margot's narrative are particularly striking, right?
Yeah.
The bizarre case of Jonathan Pike, seemingly both dead and alive, is a central mystery.
Right.
Project Phoenix and its direct tragic connection to Tessa Morales are deeply unsettling.
Yeah.
Detective Boone's ambiguous and potentially duplicitous role, underscored by the matching tattoo, creates a significant element of distrust.
Yeah.
And of course, Margot's current situation leaves her in grave and immediate danger.
This part 1 certainly forces you to think about the systems in place for organ donation.
Right.
And the potential for things to go horribly wrong, even in a fictional scenario. It makes you consider the importance of transparency and accountability within medical institutions.
And this narrative, even in its fictional intensity, prompts us to consider the foundations of trust, right, in the medical field.
Yeah.
It raises a critical question for you. What safeguards are typically in place to prevent such extreme abuses from occurring in reality?
Right.
And what vulnerabilities might exist that could be exploited, even on a smaller scale?
Yeah.
It certainly makes you reflect on the reliance we place on the integrity of the medical system and the ethical considerations surrounding organ donation.
Yeah.